right. Another edition of Tech on Ice. Hope you had a great time. So, this is a rant. Apologies before I start said rant. Um, so if folks who've been following me up for a bit know that I'm, get learning about AI and learning about how large language models works and how all of this stuff kind of fits into like the life of a developer going forward. So, so this is kind of a part of that as well. But also something happened last week. Um, so Microsoft announced that they have achieved, some cool things in the quantum space, and they have a new chip, and it's been picked up by social media influencers and what have you, right? So I asked my friend who is works in the quantum space that how realistic it is, and he was very bearish on it, which I think is probably smart, but I wanted to learn a little bit more, so I'm reading some of the public information that's been put out and all of this, and I just started to get very disconcerted with the idea that everybody in tech works on the same vocabulary, and this is true in the AI space. And I honestly like it's all in all of technology. Like there's just this assumption that we know the definitions to all of the stuff, and maybe quite frustrating. I imagine if you're new into tech and you're trying to learn a concept and you immediately get thrown a bunch of phrases and words and concepts that aren't well defined there. And sure, like I understand that you have to speak to all different levels of people, not just people that are completely new to the space. But it's sometimes very, very hard to find just like a glossary or a dictionary in certain regards. And I think this is especially true like in the AI and quantum space when we're talking not just about technology, but we're talking about physics. We're talking about you know, new kinds of matter. We're talking about like the cosmos, like being able to get some of this stuff to work. And it's super frustrating when I read, as somebody who I think I'm pretty, I'm pretty well versed in the technical space, to read like a public document or a public press release, and there to be so many words that I then have to go and look up what those words mean. And I can only imagine that if you're new into tech and you're curious and you come across some of these phrases, like you might just give up. So this rant, which I've already kind of started, is like I think we need to do better in the tech space is to educating folks on concepts without immediately assuming they know the concepts and know the words. Like I've been thinking about this AI stuff, right? And there are so many things in the AI space that you just are supposed to know. Like what's a large language model? What's a small language model? What's a foundational model? What does GPT stand for? What is a transformer? How does machine learning relate to neural networks and AI and all these things, right? And yeah, like you can go off on a tangent and go down a rabbit hole and spend hours learning about these concepts. But we need to figure out a way to do like an explain like I'm five. Like I'm a huge fan of like the explain like I'm five subreddit on Reddit because it takes concepts and it you know dials it down to something that I can understand. We need to start doing explain like I'm five for like all areas of tech. And if that means we need to add a paragraph or a few paragraphs to press releases or to public documentation just to make sure that we're all on the same level of understanding, I think we need to do that because technology is only getting more complicated. And if you talk to any developer today, the amount of tools and concepts and things they need to know is just staggering. You know, you got, a developer 15 years ago versus a developer today, that there's so many other things to consider. Different types of workloads you build, different tools, different methodologies, different ways to build, different tools, different providers, all these sort of things. And it's not fair, in my opinion. Just assume that every single developer has followed along for the ride. And then to add on top of that, that every developer then wants to go and spend hours after learning the concepts that you should assume they know. It's not fair. It really isn't. Um, that's just my opinion. This is just a rant, like I said. I think that developers, most of us are genuinely curious and we want to learn, but you have to help us. We can't just spend hours upon hours of our lives trying to understand concepts that you could probably spend a couple of sentences just to simplify it, demystify it. open the black box so we can see into it a little bit. Because that's really how developers get excited is they see like what to quote the corny Salesforce quote, like the art of the possible, right? Like what can I build with this sort of thing? But if I don't understand concepts, I'm just going to just hack at something and it may or may not work, or I'm just going to give up. And that's not a good place to be, especially if you're trying to get people to adopt new technologies and new ideas and building things. So that's it for my rant today. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Just comment down below. I'd love to hear if you agree with the idea that we need to do a better job of defining terms in this space, or I'm just not following along. You can say that too. I'm a big boy. You can say that I'm not paying attention enough. Anyway, so that's it for me today. As always, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.